are we in a bear market? Are we in a bull market? I mean, what's going on with this current state of the crypto world? I do feel blockchain technology isn't going anywhere. I do believe when we look at the inception of blockchain technology, we are just kind of scratching the surface and at the very beginning of this current state, everything's crashing.
We're not doing too well right now.
We're not doing too well. However, and that's on if we're looking at the charts, we're looking at on the day chart, right? But now, so that's the whole thing. But if you open it up and look at the year chart, we're killing it. So anybody that was in there early, you know what time it is, and you're probably in the green still if you were in early. And of course, it depends on the project we're talking about, but most projects, you're probably doing well if you got in early. And so where we are now, stocks and the current economic climate, it's rough out there. Interest rates are hurting people.
There's a lot going on right now, and I think that it's important to recognize that we're in such uncharted territory right now. As an economics background, like, we can have as many tools as we want, but with the amount of intertwinedness that's going on between the government and policies, and that's just how life is nowadays, it's affecting things. It's not as free market. Our tools are limited, right? We are unprecedented. We are still testing certain theories, right? People have been asking for a long time, is Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, are they a substitute for the dollar, right? And people have their own personal opinions on it, but now we can pull up the data to say, I'm not quite so sure. I don't know. And I don't believe that cryptocurrency in and of itself is going to be a recession-proof asset.
Yeah, it's anything. It's anything.
Well, gold.
Yeah.
Gold, like precious metals.
Yeah, but even the value of that goes up and down. It fluctuates. You know what I'm saying? So depending on when you bought it, you could be in the hole,
I mean, it goes to say that, to me, that's real. And I'm so with crypto, crypto is going to be the future, but I'm thinking short term, because you have to think long term versus short term.
Yeah,
long term, there's going to be massive investments, but short term, I think we're in a bear market. I think we just hit the beginning of this next chapter. As you probably are familiar, the Dow was going up, 2% or whatnot steadily.
So we have to specify, right? Bear market for stock market and crypto, or either or, which one?
I think that when we say bear, I think that it's broadly speaking to just the market in general, the investable capital. Right.
But, so some people think that, Bitcoin's a hedge too.
Well, right, which I don't agree with, because the data is actually showing now that they're not as correlated as one may have thought. Right. And that was the thought process, right? It is a big hedge. I maybe it will be in the future, but right now it's not.
I think it was. I think it might not be in the future because you have big money in there and you have these hedges that manipulate.
This goes back to exactly the point I wanted to make of we're in uncharted territory because we have so many hands and so many different pots nowadays. It's not as free market anymore. You can't, it's not like 50 years ago where you could just pull out the tools and say, we need to do this, that, or this. We really have to figure it out for ourselves.
Right.
But I don't think crypto's going away. It's definitely not going away. I think we're going to experience a big pullback on the stock market and the crypto market for sure. And, with the Dow Jones and the whole market really finally going down, hitting negative for the first time, it went down almost 1,000 points and went back up a little bit. But then, now we're going on the second day, down another 600 points. And even if it rallies back up, to me, that's all I need to see to say we're done. We're done. We've lived in a bubble for so long, it has to pop. And people, that may not understand economics, it's actually a good thing when the economy resets to some degree, because right now there's just a big inequality distribution, whatever you want to call it, in terms of how the money is circulating. Investable capital right now is at an all-time low, right? For investment, for in an all-time low. We are not doing well, and it's just like a cold, right? Many people be like, oh, I'm sick. If you're sick all the time, that's not good, right? But if you do get sick, once a year, once every couple of years, it's actually not bad for you because it fully resets your system. Same thing we need to go through with this economy.
Well, I'm not sure about that. And I'll tell you why. No, just the sick part only the sick part. Because I haven't been sick in years. And that makes me want to go down another rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's the censored.
Yeah, the one that will probably demonetize us indefinitely.
Absolutely, we got to save that for future episodes. But
Right.
it yields the question of what is natural and what is more artificial. And I'm not saying that things aren't real, but how are things affecting our body, right?
Exactly.
Even like 5G technology.
Oh, yeah.
We know that the microwaves within that technology are dangerous to our cells, right?
100%.
And people may say, oh, come on, that's not studied. Well, let me say this. There's so much money in making sure that certain studies don't come out. And that's also really disturbing nowadays when science is bought. People don't consider that.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's very true. And that's what makes it hard, is because you have so much censorship in the world and propaganda, and they, like you said, there's so much invested in this stuff, and it's hard to believe. Okay, it's hard to figure out what's real, and it makes you want to dive deeper when you're told something. And you always want to make sure that the person is credible. You want to make sure that the content is credible and it's coming from a reliable source and everything.
Right.
So, it's nowadays it's just rough, and it's the whole social media age.
Oh yeah.
That is that's making everything evolve quickly, and it's just really rapid. So
It's flashy.
yeah,
Very flashy.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know, but going back to the current state as far as whether we're in a bear market or bull market, I do think we are trending in a bear market for sure. You made some very valid points, and that's very solid. I do believe that crypto will bounce before the stock market, though, and I believe it's gonna bounce. I think they're both gonna do well, because we're kind of historically, August and September are generally lower months anyway, and I think there will be a bounce back. Now, if there's going to be a bounce back to where we had maybe previous highs, I really don't know. For crypto, I think it's very possible, especially with the election and the election results. I think especially once we start dropping interest rates. Once we start dropping interest rates, generally, at least historically, Bitcoin has done well, over time. So I'm hoping that we have a repeat of that. I'm actually banking on that. If it doesn't happen, of course, we are in new charted territory. So there's no telling, if that is going to repeat itself. But I think it's a very good possibility. Especially when you look at the charts and you look at Bitcoin, you always have this peak, or this kind of soft peak before you have this valley, before you even have this higher peak, and it's all a part of this bull market. But I do think we're trending down. We're kind of looking bearish, but I don't think it's going to go all the way to let's say Bitcoin goes all the way down to, I don't see it going back down to 30K. I don't know if it goes back down to 30K this cycle. You know what I mean? Maybe after the next new high, which I do believe we'll get a next new high. Maybe after that, we'll see it drop all the way down to the newest low. The previous low was what, 18 grand, I think it was.
Right.
So it dropped all the way down to 18 grand. I think our new low will be higher than that, probably somewhere around double. You know what I mean? So it might be like the 20 to 30 grand range, but I don't think it's going to go back down to 18. I think we're done seeing that.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's going to make a newer low. The question is when, and it's so much of a toss up right now, because the history, what we know to be a fact, and in the future perhaps we'll get a computer out on the screen, is whenever there's the Bitcoin halving, it takes about a year for Bitcoin to make a new high.
Exactly.
And if you look at the data, Bitcoin did exactly that. It already made a new high. People may say, "Oh, it didn't." Well, okay, so it was right around, literally, I mean, right around the time it happened. So people could argue, okay, well, you know, it's not the 100,000, it's not the 200,000 we hope for, but on the charts, okay, yeah, it broke it, right? So it's really just what script you want to read, right? Because there's someone may say, yo, that doesn't matter, and someone may say, no, that's very important. I think it really is a toss-up on whether or not. I think it's very possible that Bitcoin crashes sooner than later and then goes up.
You think so? Well, okay, so what does that crash look like? Because we might be in the middle of it, right?
I think we're going to get more of a crash. It's at like 60,000 right now.
Right.
I see it like kind of falling off the table, and I kind of see the whole market doing this, really, right? Where right now we're just like, oh, it went down a little bit. Is everything okay? Like, we're kind of testing it, retracement. Maybe we'll go back up a little bit. I think in the next coming weeks, we're just going to get beat down. And once we start selling and there's a panic sell, you know, I could see there being some big retracement, huge retracements. And part of it, I think that when we talk about how there's so much influence in the market, I think when we say I think companies want this, right? Because now all of a sudden, when there's ETFs, they're going to buy massive during the pullback, right? So when it goes back up, they secured their position, and now they're going to tell the average American it's time for you to get in.
Yep. They haven't even been advertising yet. You know, maybe very little. I haven't been seeing much advertising.
There's a reason why, of course.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. They need to get there. They need to seal those positions, and I'm right there with you.
Pump and dump on their part.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's the whole thing. You know, you have these major organizations that I won't name that rhyme with sock, but you know, the positions that that these companies have with even just the miners. There's no way that they can't manipulate by having all these positions with the miners, having all this money with Bitcoin in general. I mean, if you're a whale on with any cryptocurrency, you can manipulate that cryptocurrency.
Absolutely.
And so that's the whole thing. That's what people need to understand. So, the more that they gather these positions, they're going to be able to manipulate the crap out of it, just like they do the stock market.
Absolutely. It's only going to get worse. That's for sure.
Right. And so personally, I think we should have already hit our second new high. I do feel like, everything we were like 6 months early for that first new high. I do feel that a lot of that had to do with, or if not, most of that had a lot to do with that ETF. I think most of it was that ETF that came out.
I do think that there's additive factors in that, in terms of like the market's changed, right? Who's in the market now? Now we have some companies, now we have more individuals. I mean, we think about, there's so many apps nowadays that make it easier than ever to invest. Like, there is more folks who are trying to get in, and the big term, we said it earlier, FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. People they will waste their money if they feel like they're going to get left behind. And I kind of feel like that's part of what happened, Bitcoin was in the dog water, and then all of a sudden rallied to 30K, all of a sudden rallied to 50, and then went up, right? So people just threw their money in. Some people made good money, but there's a lot of hopium. There's not a lot of basis for investments nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. So, but what's neat, and it's funny because when you watch movies like Dumb Money and stuff like that, a lot of those hedges they've learned their lesson, and they've gotten better at manipulating.
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen the movie.
Okay.
And the only reason is because all the advertising for that movie was just like, oh, look at these collaborators on Reddit or whatever it was, like milking the market. And it's like, bro, then that's the narrative, but that is not what happened. Right. It was literally, it was some people on Reddit, they called out the stock was undervalued because it was being shorted. They made a good position, and the hedge lost for once. And I can tell you this, in this world with this kind of money, the hedge never loses. So when they lose, they're pissed. So not only did they say, oh, that shouldn't have happened, they say, this guy is almost criminal, right? To the dumb money. Brother, you just made a bad call and somebody called you out on it. And then they make a movie on it like, oh, these guys are horrible. That's why I just really didn't have any interest in that one.
Yeah. It was pretty insightful. Maybe, well, because I already had prior knowledge, of course I ignored the narrative. I was looking at different things about it, and kind of, it was almost nostalgic. And I was kind of thinking back what I was doing when all this going down, you know what I mean? So, can we say on radio? Can we say
Yeah. This is our podcast.
I know, right? It's ours. Oh yeah, brother.
Oh yeah, brother.
But that movie was very interesting because now what they do is, and I forgot, let me see, what do they call them? I'll just explain the position. They have people with positions at these different companies that will actually get on social media and YouTube and different things and try to figure out what the sentiment is. You know what I mean? And also, well, actually that's what they're doing. And I do believe they're listening for plays, because it's funny, because when I'm following certain YouTube, some pretty popular YouTube analysts, and they're like, okay, and traders, and they're promoting what they're actually about to do, and they feel like it's going to be a win, right? And it could be a common theme too between a few of them. And it's funny, the market will do exactly the opposite, and and in my mind I'm like, huh. And then what's so funny about it is, because I really pay attention, I really like to analyze things. They will take that money, and because a lot of these guys, they're doing options trading too as well. So they'll take that money from them, they'll liquidate those options, and then it will turn around and go back to where they thought it was going to go initially. It just will go at a different time. It'll go later.
Absolutely. That's purchasing power.
They'll take that money and then they'll make it go up.
Absolutely.
And that's what's so crazy about it. And you know what's even funny with options? And I've seen this several times, and it's happened to me. So, if it's a call option, you're banking on it going up. So you got money that it's going to go up. If it's a put option, you're banking that it's going to go down. If the price action is going to go down.
Right.
So how in the hell do you lose money both ways? How do I have a call option? It's up a little bit, but I'm actually down. I'm losing money. Right?
Is there a spread or some sort of margin?
I don't. Hey, maybe. I haven't figured it out yet. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. So generally, if the price action is increasing, it's a given. If you have a call option, you're going to be in the green. Mm-hmm. I've literally been in the red, even though, let's say it's up by 1% or like 0.5%. Like, how am I still in the red if I have a call option? And the same thing with the put. So what I do think happens though is the market makers, what they do is they make those options contracts. And so I do think that they can manipulate those contracts more than they can manipulate the actual price action.
Do you see this kind of tying back to our general thought of the day, which is, speaking if we're going to a bear or bull market, do you see this influencing the next 6 months of crypto? Do you think that do they have enough leverage yet in the market, in their positions, to influence things?
Yes, I do. And I think that's why it's been somewhat of a stable coin lately. Bitcoin.
There's been going sideways for a long time.
And it generally does after a halving, right? It generally does. But I do feel like they already have their greedy hands.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. As soon as, I guarantee you with inside knowledge, day 1, day 2 ETF is open, you saw. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to quote it because I don't know the number, but it was a lot of money that was flowing immediately.
Yeah. So I do, but I think at some point they can't stop it. Especially when ETFs really start, when they start advertising ETFs and they really start trying to get, the everyday investor on these ETFs. These
Ethereum
ETFs.
Hopefully as well.
Yeah.
People don't realize that beyond just a financial incentive, there's actual technology behind a lot of this, and that's what gets swept under the rug with so much of the crypto talk is the platform utilization. Especially Bitcoin, people, it's just a B2B. Like, I can send you money, you send me money. We don't really do that much with it. With Ethereum and other networks, you can do almost anything. You want to send, I won't even say, businesses will be formed on networks, right? And we're not talking about expensive networks like, I need to drive my gas car over here. It's not expensive. We're talking about things that cost the same carbon as like an email, right? So and that's a big misconception, right? Crypto is not good for the environment. And you know what? Sure, there is some argument to that when you turn to mining, right? And different efficiencies, absolutely. But in general, there is a lot to unpack in this coming market.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's gonna unfold with the election. And if one party wins versus the other, I think it's gonna be a really great day for crypto investors.
Personally, I think it's the exact opposite.
Really?
I really think that that's just the obvious play, that everyone's going to rally behind the election. I think it's going to be the exact opposite. I think it's going to just dump, and it's going to stay sideways for a long time.
Interesting.
And then eventually it'll have its data crack open. You know, and kind of related to this, and I encourage everyone to do their own research here. There's been a big market theory here, and everything I have seen from my own analysis has kind of validated it, that Bitcoin does not actually lead the crypto market, which is like, what? It's Ethereum. If you look at Ethereum's like technical analysis and different patterns, Ethereum seems to be more of a driver in terms of where the market's going than Bitcoin even, which is, nobody talks about that, but it's interesting to see because Ethereum's, I believe, way more in its baby stage than Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's always going to be around because it was the first one, right? So if you have a Bitcoin, congratulations. Like, it'll be worth millions one day, right?
Right.
But for those who are investing in Ethereum, Ethereum is going to be the hub of, I mean, maybe there's other things, but Ethereum is going to be the hub of a lot, right? So if you're on that, you're in it, baby.
Yeah.
And then there's all the sub projects under that, where if you get in
Exactly.
early on one of those projects, like,
Right.
woo,
Right.
you're making real money.
And then, kind of coming back to your point, and if you just have the money in Ethereum, even if you don't have it in the sub projects, I mean, they're all going to use that blockchain.
Absolutely.
So-
they have to use the gas. And
Exactly. So regardless, if you just get the parent, crypto, the parent coin, token, or whatever you want to call it, you're going to be sitting good. And I agree with you on Ethereum for sure. I even believe in XRP, and I feel like there's Easter eggs out there for XRP, but same thing for Ethereum, and then Solana. A lot of people love Solana. They're developing on Solana.
Poly.
Yeah. So, I think blockchain technology is definitely it's definitely here to stay. I do think Bitcoin still will, like I said, it will go down. I don't know if it will go to that new low yet. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't think it'll get to that new low until after it hits another high. But you know what? It went down to, if I'm not mistaken, like 55-ish thousand, maybe about a month ago, if I'm not mistaken. So you had, and again, we're gonna do better and make sure we have this stuff up to, give you actual hardcore data. But I was watching it, and I thought, well, maybe the bottom was going to fall out. I think anybody
Right.
that's following it, they know exactly where I'm coming from, because then you're looking at your money and you're like, okay, is this the time, or did I wait too long, or
that's everyone's wondering that, right?
right. But I think it might float back into that range is kind of what I'm getting at, but I'm not sure. I don't think the bottom's going to fall out yet. You know what I'm saying? I think that's going to take some time.
I agree, and I think that kind of, there's so many aspects of this conversation because long term, it's going up, baby. Like, it's going up, but
Right.
there's some short term turbulence we're going to experience.
For sure.
And I do agree. Like, I don't think the bottom's just we're going to go off a cliff tomorrow. But with the market cracking for the first time this week,
Yeah.
I think it's a sign that we are going to start to bull trap. I mean, maybe that's one way you want to call it. We're going to reset. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 6 to 8 months, we do hit that $30,000 low, or around maybe a little bit more than that, just because there's so much uncertainty in the market, right? Once the election happens, I feel like there's so much unrest in America right now where we don't know, with courts, with all the different things, with elections and the things that come with that, until someone is in the office, has taken the oath, and is given the nuclear codes, we don't know. Right. So the market isn't going to make a big play until we know something. Trump just came out at Bitcoin 2024 and said, look, I'm bullish. Like, we got to do policies to support Bitcoin. It's going to take time, though, and we got to think, like, it's not even September yet.
Right.
We're talking 4 or 5 months away. And,
Yeah.
Trump has many more important things when he gets back in office than to sign a crypto bill right away, of course, with dealing with foreign affairs.
Right. But, but all of, to me, crypto really, a lot of it goes off of the sentiment. You know what I mean? So if you have a lot of people that are just excited, you know what I mean? Especially, and then are forward looking, you know what I mean? I think that's where I'm banking that it's going to go up. You know what I mean? And it may not go to like the new high, but I do believe it's going to go up. But I do believe and they usually say, I think it's the first 12 or 18 months after the halving is when you have your peak. I think we might still be on schedule for that, or it might come a little bit early.
See, I don't disagree with that, and I haven't heard that data before. But to me, that puts us next year in April, right? And here we're talking about November. I think people are going to
which means it's early.
I think it's going to be the opposite. I think people are going to shove in early and then it's going to crash. When I say crash, I mean lose half of its purchasing power, go to 30,000, 35,000, maybe 40, and then people are stuck, right? Then you can't sell, right? Then you have to wait for it to go up. And look, is that a bad thing? No, but you bought it at a 50% premium, right? That's not good, right? Because now everyone else that has their $1,000 or whatever it is putting their money in now, and now they have 1.5 coin instead of just one coin. That's where people have to be careful, and and I would say as well, like, we don't know the solutions. This is not financial advice, folks. This is just us speaking our minds, talking about what we think is going on. Nobody the hell knows.
Right, exactly. Nobody knows.
So final words, Jay, what do you think? Are we bullish? Are we bearish? And when is that timeline potentially going to switch?
I think we are in a bear trap. I think that is looking bearish, but I think it's going to go back up, and I think it's going to go back up before the election. That's what I believe. And I think.
Do you think it stays there? Do you think it goes sideways? I mean, where does it go from there, right?
Yeah, so that's going to be hard, because when it breaks through, I don't know. That's the hard part. I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to either stay sideways, or we might get like a mild new high, but I don't think we're going to get that peak maybe until next year. Maybe spring next year.
Yeah.
Maybe going from spring going into the summertime, but I do think current state, I think it's sideways for the most part, but I think we're not going to go down too far.
Interesting.
But I do think it's somewhat of a bear trap, and I think at least right now, I think it's looking pretty bad. But I think and it might go down, let's say, to the 54, the 55, the 56, and then come right back up when people start getting scared and panicking, and then it's just going to be this sideways game of them making money off of people, getting kind of nervous over it.
We'll see the timeline. I mean, we know that this is going to be playing out to some degree because it can't go up forever. I mean, that's just the other aspect of this. And I think that, living in America, it's a little scary right now with our currency. It's being devalued like crazy. And I feel like I see the writing on the wall in terms of crypto is going to go down, our stocks are going down. America's about to have a lot more pressure on their wallet again.
Yeah.
And we forgot about it from a few years ago because it came and it went quickly. It's easy to, we write off that year and a half that happened, but man, I mean, we had to put money in our economy, and we're really about to come back to some hard times when it's not even inflation, right? I mean, it has to do with purchasing power and all the different components of your life that aren't actually your paycheck.
Yeah, which is already hard,
Right.
It's
absolutely it is. It's
hard.
killing us right now.
It is, and especially if you're in California.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, and to think that it's going to get worse, that's scary. And I do agree that, for your average person, your average Joe, it's going to get worse before it gets better, for sure. And that better might not be even great. It just might be, better than today. You know what I mean? Economically. So, yeah.
That's very well said. These are just our thoughts.
Yes.
We think what we like.
And we speak frankly.